to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Today we have Josephine Mischief. I would say cosplayer, but you're more just a costumer. I don't know what you'd classify yourself as.
Well, I do cosplay as well. Just with COVID, I haven't really had much of an opportunity in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Believe me, I went when this whole thing started. I bought a full set of Stormtrooper armor. And I was like, cool, I'm going to go to conventions in Stormtrooper armor. And then COVID shut everything down for a year. And my Stormtrooper armor's in like a crate in my room somewhere. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Southern California based. I did start with Renaissance fairs before I got into cosplay. When I was growing up, I was super into like any dress up day at school or any excuse to wear a costume, but I didn't know what cosplay was. And then as I got older, I would have friends going to these conventions and I'd see pictures and was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that someday. But I had like 3 jobs in college and there was no time for anything like that. Then I, started going to the Renaissance fair more and I met people there who did both and they kind of dragged me into that world. And so it just turned my costuming obsession turned it up to like 1 million. And now I own way more costumes than I do regular clothes.
Now, you tend to, I see on Facebook, you do a lot of pirate base from what I can tell. Is that your favorite?
That's probably my favorite. I feel like that's the most me, and the Josephine Mischief persona was pirate based. I was at the Renaissance fair one day and I was there in like borrowed wench garb. And I had this flask in my bag and it was leaking and I actually had rum in it. So I ran up to like the first group of pirates I saw and I was like, oh my gosh, I need your help. I'm like leaking rum and I need you to help me. And they like kind of just took me into the fold. And that was the Big Hat Pirates, which all of my leather hats are by them. And Javier, who's the owner of Big Hat Pirates and like my extra parent now, he's like, what's your name? And he goes, wait, don't tell me, it's Josephine. And then it just kind of and exploded from there. And then Mistress of Mischief was my nickname at fair. But when I made that my Facebook page name, I got a lot of messages I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, that's a whole new level that you don't want to step into.
They're like, mistress? I'm like, no, oh no, oh, but yeah, pirate is like where my heart is the most. If you can't see in the background, it's all pirate stuff. All my hats are hanging on the wall back there. Like my whole house is well, it's Disney-esque, but more heavy on the pirate.
All right. I also see you do a lot of like the I don't want to say witchy fairy stuff, I guess. That's some, I gotta admit, that's probably my favorite. It's the one you did with the black eye makeup. Would have to
so like kind of dark.
Yeah. Super dark. Yeah,
my mom was in the Religious Diversity Commission teaching like pagan spirituality growing up. So that's kind of the world I grew up in. I've always been really in touch with like the Celtic spirituality side of myself. And so there's a lot of lore in that with like the Tuatha De Danann and the Unseelie. And so those were the stories I went to bed with. And those were always been the characters like that I've kind of been drawn towards, even though most Americans don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I definitely have a witchy side to me and the darker aesthetic. It's funny because like I'm a very bubbly, like positive person in person, but I always portray these kind of like dark, serious characters just because I think that's just like the opposite of me. And I think that's what costuming kind of does. You can pull out parts of yourself you don't necessarily show in your daily life. So that like kind of like badass, like I take no prisoners side of me, it comes out in that costuming when it doesn't really come out in my everyday personality.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, you talk about the religious diversity. I'm from Ohio. They would look at that like, what? That's Mm-mm. No.
Even here, I mean, California is pretty progressive, but even here, people were kind of like, now it's cool. It's cool to be a witch.
Oh yeah,
But growing up, it was not cool.
I married a witch, so I'm fully aware. So yeah, that's the witch part. I am 100%. I know that fully that I deal with that on a daily basis.
She's not a witch. She's your wife.
She's pagan witch. She's more the I guess kind of drifts towards Native American.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So I pretty I'm the, I guess not the polar opposite, because I tend to be I grew up more towards the atheist side. I'm science-based guy. And people are like, how does that work? I'm like, I don't know, it's worked for almost 30 years, so I'm perfectly fine with it.
Well, there's something to be said about some of the things we do, and it's just spicy science.
Yeah.
You know, like it is, some of it is very scientific and is something that can be proven, but you know, because the human brain is able to do so many things that we just don't even begin to touch on. So those people who can kind of open up more of that side, like, it's spicy science.
Oh yeah, that's, see, my wife, she's definitely one of the people that it's I always say it's the power of positivity, because my wife is like the most positive person. Even when she gets down, she gets like, the positivity's still there, and I'm like the pessimist. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I always expect the worst to happen, then when something good happens, it's like, see, pleasantly surprised, something good happened. Tina's like, I knew it would happen, that's why it happened.
Yeah, the power of intention.
Yes. Now, how did you get into doing the Ren Fair? Did you just happen to go and then really kind of fall in love with it, or did you like get somebody to take you to the Ren Fair, or was it?
Well, my mom went, but when I was like growing up, and I remember her going, but I wasn't allowed to go because that was her time to go and have fun. And then when I was in like my late teens, a friend of my mom's bought me my first Ren Fair outfit, and I had never been though. And she's like, you're gonna need this someday. And then some of my coworkers were like, we're gonna go, you know, you should come along. You'd love it. I'm surprised you haven't been. And I went, and it's like, for the first time in my life, like being curvy was not only appreciated, but like fawned over. And so, because I grew up the chubby girl, you know, like I had always been curvy. My sister and my mom are stick figures with big boobs and red hair. And then here I come along, and everyone's like, so are you adopted, or like what happened? And so I grew up very self-conscious and very like conscientious of the fact that I was, you know, too big for like normal standards. And I went to fair, and everyone was like, yes, you have big boobs and they look in the corset, and oh my gosh, you look fantastic. And I'm like, my people. I have obviously found my people, and they're the most real people you'll ever meet, even though they're all in costume. I think there's something very freeing about being in costume. You can be, I always say I'm the most me when I'm in costume, and like the regular clothes are the real costume. Like this mom person who's walking around like that, you know, in a baggy shirt and like sweatpants, like that's the costume. Being dressed up is like who I really am. And I loved how authentic people were and how real they were and how like uninhibited. And after that, I was just hooked.
And see, I know a lot of people who go to Ren Fairs. I have unfortunately never been lucky enough to go to the Ren Fair. Every time I've gone to go, something bad has happened.
Oh.
So I've always just kind of like, if I don't go, then nothing bad will happen.
You're missing out though.
I've literally been in my car getting ready to leave, and I was a manager at a video store at the time, and we're pulling out, and they call me and they're like, you need to come in here, there's no one to cover today. And I'm like, I'm leaving now, I'm in the car to go. And they're like, you're the manager, you need to be here. I'm like, I'm leaving. And they're like, you need to get here now. And I'm like, all right guys, I gotta go, see you later. And they all went to Ren Fair, and I went to work. So
that sucks.
But no, it's always looks like something I would love to do. it's something I've never been able to do. And I've been able to do pretty much everything else I've ever wanted to do. It's just that is not one of them, unfortunately. My wife's gone several times without me. And then on top of that, I have friends who do, I have a friend who does pirate show at one here in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
He's he did that. He did fire breathing and stuff like that. And I know that they do it. I'm pretty sure he still does it every year. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I don't know, because I know it got canceled, of course, last year. And then it came about. So, you know, I'm pretty sure he still does all that stuff, but I haven't been able to talk to him lately. So, okay. And I asked this to everybody. Ask this to everybody. I always ask everybody, if you have one project, money's no object, what are you making?
Oh, one project with no object. That is a tough one. I have probably several. I really want to do Mad Moxie one day, and I feel like that's going to be something I'm going to have to cough up quite the pretty penny for, just for all the pieces, because there's no like way to dupe it. There's no, like, a lot of things I'm able to find at like thrift stores and stuff and make it work, but that would be a complete from scratch piece. So I would say probably her.
Cool. Now, you said you get a lot of your stuff. Now, do you make a lot of your stuff, or is it just, you buy this, you buy that, and you kind of piece it all together? Or do you just go out of your way to, like, hey, I made all this, but we're buying it using a store-bought corset, or not store-bought, but you know what I mean? Like
Well, all my corsets are from Damsel in Distress. I pretty much won't wear anything else because they're handmade. They're, she lives in Utah. She's become one of my like dearest friends, and I know her quality, and I know that I can wear it all day and not like be crying at the end of the day. But I would say I mostly piece together. I do build a lot of my own props, but out of like stuff you wouldn't really expect. Like my Harley Quinn hammer, I made out of like 2 buckets and a mop handle and like contact paper and styrofoam and stuff, but it looks really good in photos. But if you looked at it up close, you'd be like, did you get this at the dollar store? Yes. As a matter of fact, I was running through the dollar store with a mop handle, sticking things to it, going, what can I make look like a hammer?
I had a girl that used to come in my store, and she made a Harley Quinn hammer out of a popcorn tin. One of the big tins that come with like different kinds of popcorn. Yeah, that was her hammer.
So, nice. You can make props out of like, just if you have like the creativity and the time, I mean, you can pretty much turn anything into anything. But it definitely takes that like kind of creative eye to be able to look at trash and go, I can make something out of this.
I can do that. All right. Now, what kind, you said you do cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite one you like to cosplay?
Probably Harley Quinn, just because I can be as much of a goofy goober as I want to be all day, and it just falls in step with her persona. And I've done like a ton of different versions of her. I've done mostly like my own versions of her. I did a pirate version of her. I've done like a steampunk version. And then it's always like I've never done like straight comic book Harley, because I feel like people don't know me for that. They don't know me for doing like straight to it. My like body type isn't made for straight to it anyway. So I just tend to like put my own spin on things, but I love Harley.
Cool.
She's the nutter.
My wife's dog decided she wants to bother me while I'm doing this. Right?
It's probably a toss up between her and Beetlejuice, actually.
Beetlejuice? Yeah, you did. I saw your Beetlejuice I think
for Halloween.
Yeah.
I did it a couple years ago at SDCC too. We had a whole group of people, and that was so much fun because I just got to be like pervy all day.
And you get now, do you have any horror stories of creepers that just will not leave you alone, or ones that you're just like, yeah, you need to go. Like,
I mean, most of them have happened online more than anything else. Like I'll have people come into my DMs and I'm very friendly. I mean, which, like when I'm
yeah,
messaging people, like I'm very open, I'm very friendly. I give people the benefit of the doubt, and not as much as I used to, but when I first started, there was this guy who was messaging me all the time and I was like, oh yeah, and I was married at the time. So I was like, my husband and I said it a few times. And then one day he's like, I want you to come out to where I live. And I was like, why? And he goes, oh, I'm going to frost your hair and I'm going to do your makeup. And look, I drew all these sketches of how I'm going to do your makeup. And I have this whole studio in my basement. I'm like, no. And then it turned into him like calling and like through Messenger,
oh,
like
yeah,
over
yeah.
and over and over. And then he started cussing me out, telling me I let him on. And I was like, I told you I was married. He's like, no, you didn't. I had to like screenshot that, like we had to get the police involved because it was really bad. But in person, I mean, so I was 7 months pregnant with my son. I was we were at an after party for Comic-Con. Like I'd been dressed as Totoro all day because when you're that big, you got to be a fat rabbit. And I'm in this club and we're dancing and this guy comes up behind me and I didn't realize it at first because it's a club, there are people all over the place and it's pretty packed. And one of my girlfriend goes, no. And this guy was sniffing my wig. And then she tells him no and to get away from me. So instead of getting away, which this wig was on, it wasn't going anywhere. He like puts his hand in it and starts dragging me out of the club by the hair.
Wow.
And I'm like super huge pregnant and he did not care. And my friend had to go like all like angry squirrel on him, like jumped on him and was like, until he let me go. But that was pretty scary.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Actually, that's. Uh, I so far I've been doing this for a little bit. I have one stalker, cyber stalker. I think it's a creeper, and it's a guy. So I don't know.
I have to be very careful in my messages and keep them very like without much emotion.
Oh yeah.
I have, especially if I feel like they're trying to like hit on me or whatever, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's nice, and then not say anything else and keep it very casual and very minimum. Otherwise, it just turns into something insane very quickly.
Yeah. Some people just can't take a hint.
No.
No.
I get a lot of unsolicited pictures in my inbox.
Yeah. I don't know how or why. Did that ever work for anybody ever?
No.
It couldn't have.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. It's that whole any attention is better than no attention. So, I mean, I do something in return when those happen to me. I have like a little folder of like really deformed D pics and like sickly D pics, and I flood their inbox in return.
I have a customer. She did it. She had a guy kept doing it. So she basically found this guy's like sister and mom, and sent all his stuff to them and goes, you need to watch your brother or your son. And she goes, I never got another pick after that. So
yeah, I've done that. I had a guy just the other day like sending me creepy messages on Instagram, and I was like, like you can go to my OnlyFans. That's about it, is what I got for you. And he's like, you just can't take a compliment. And I was like, no, that's not a compliment. It's just kind of creepy. But I'd rather you pay me to be creepy than, me have to listen to it for free. And he starts ranting and stuff. And I was like, oh, you have a girlfriend. Wait, you're engaged and her name is this. Should I just screenshot all this and just send it to her? It was like, you even said in here that you say this compliment to loads of women all the time. So I'm sure she wants to know.
that's good though. but like I said, I don't, like you said, it's some attentions, even it's bad attention is attention. But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm a guy, and I'm just like, why would you ever do that? And I don't know. Maybe I'm old, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, you're just a decent human.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's it too. Yeah. But yeah, I've been in costume at a couple cons and stuff like that, and I had one woman slap me on the butt one time because I was dressed as Red Hood, and I'm like, and she said something like, I need to get some of that or something like that. And I'm like, you have no idea. I have a mask on. I could have
Yeah.
pulled it off and been like a complete, like the elephant man underneath. I'm like, hey. But and to be honest, I think some people, they can't differentiate between the actual person and the character they portray.
Yeah,
And
100%.
and with the character, that character is just a character and it's not a real person, and so they can get away with it. Well, that's the character. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
You're like, no, though. That's the whole, cosplay is not consent
No.
thing going around, because I mean, we've all dealt with creepers. We've all had, that one photographer who's like, I want you to pretend I'm your boyfriend and look at me like I'm your boyfriend, and I want you to like kind of feel yourself. It's like, no.
Nope.
I'm good. Thank you though.
That's why my wife's a photographer, and she does, and I'm like, people like, have you ever seen, I've never even seen the first picture that she's taken of any of her, because she did some like boudoir stuff and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen the first picture. I'm her husband, and I'm like, if she's working on those like in editing, and I just happen to like, oh nope, that's not mine. That's not
Yeah.
now my wife I'm allowed to see, but no, other people's girlfriends and stuff like that. No,
Yeah.
that's not cool. But she also gets a lot of people who will, she's done a lot of pictures because she is a woman, and people are more comfortable with a female
100%.
photographer over a male photographer and stuff like that.
It's interesting though, because in my experience, I mean, I've done boudoir shoots with both men and women photographers, and I've never had an issue with like one that I've booked myself, somebody I've vetted and whatever. And I actually liked the pictures better, because it's when you're trying to show the male gaze, having a woman take those photos, you're going to get the female gaze for the most part, and that it's different. It's just different. Like I had two photographers working with me at the same shoot, and I had one of my girlfriends with me, so we would like switch back and forth. One was a girl and one was a guy, and I actually preferred the photos I got from the guy because they were more of what I was looking for, like that male gaze, if for no other way to describe it. And he was super respectful and stuff, and then his girlfriend got really pissed off that he was doing boudoir photography, and then he told me, he's like, I'm really sorry, because I was like, I would love to book you again, and he's like, I can't anymore. I was editing photos and she walked in, and then nope.
That does make sense, because if you're going to get somebody to, hey, I need to look a certain way, and I need somebody to look at me a certain way. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But, now, do you have?
I'm not saying that women can't do it, because I've seen some boudoir photography that I'm just like, oh, I want to look like that. That were female photographers.
Do you have a favorite photographer that you work with?
My friend Kansas City Photography. I work with her more than anyone else, and I feel the most comfortable with her just because her and I are actually really good friends outside of it too. And she'll be like, don't make that face. Look at this. That looks horrible. And she'll like stop and be like, this is what you're doing. Is this what you want? I'm like, no, it's not what I want, and then I'm able to fix it instead of just getting the photos later and going, oh my gosh, why was I making that face? Why did I think that looked good? That looks awful. She's very real with me about it, so that we can have like the most productive shoot. Like she knows that the first like 20 frames, I'm not there yet. And so she'll just kind of like be like, okay, kind of do whatever you want, get yourself warmed up. And then she'll be like, okay, Now it's, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Like, time to actually make that money happen. That money shot.
That makes sense, because you get your friend in there that knows you and then be like, that's not you. You need to step it up. You need to
Yeah. Where's your head at? Do you need me to turn on music? Or she'll like make playlists ahead of time that kind of go along with the theme of what we're doing. So she because that helps really get me in the right mindset. I had another photographer I used to work with too, CM2P, but he doesn't really do it anymore, which bums me out, because he's really good at portrait photography. And he also knows me really well. So he'd do the same thing. Like, hey, no, don't do that.
Is there any photography you'd like to work with? Is there any people that out there that you see that you go, man, I really need to work with that person?
I have a couple that I follow on TikTok that are in other states. So that's unfortunate. That's probably something I won't be able to ever do. Here in California, I would love to work with Saffels Photography. I've seen a lot of his work and he's fantastic. Let's see, I love working with Lightcrafter. So if I could do like just a shoot with just him, that'd be great too. I know he lives kind of near me as well. But who was that other guy? There's this guy who does underwater photography and it's insane. And I can't remember his name right now, but I would love to do that. I've never done underwater photos.
Do the whole mermaid thing.
Yeah, or even just like in a really cool, like long flowy gown, like I'd be down. I can hold my breath a long time. And hopefully like it's like, in your head what you think, and then reality is where you're just like this in every photo.
Yeah, because you think you can hold your breath forever, and then when you actually time yourself, you're like, you feel like you're holding your breath for 5-10 minutes, and then you look at it, you're like
20 seconds. Well, plus it's different when you're underwater and you're trying to keep your eyes open and you're trying to keep your face relaxed, while you're trying not to float to the top and actually have like pretty movements. Like, I know that has to be incredibly difficult. So I would need somebody super experienced to be able to go, you need to do this so that you don't die and that you don't look like hell.
Well, the whole problem is that you'd have to find, because I mean, if you're going to do it in a pool, your eyes are going to want to like,
yeah,
chlorine and stuff like that. So to hold them open, you got to have like either, I don't know, fresh water or something without chlorine in it for at least long enough for you to shoot. Then it's like, put chlorine in the pool now. We're fine. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What was it? Have you ever seen the band Highly Suspect? Ever heard of them?
I don't think I have.
They do a music video for a song called Lydia, and it's literally one shot filmed. The girl is like tied in underwater, and it's supposed to be like trying to get out of, and but it's one of the ones where you're like, that can't be one shot. I actually had to look it up because we were talking about the holding your breath underwater, and it's all shot underwater. That just reminded me. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. You said you go to like San Diego Comic-Con. Do you go to any of the other conventions or anything?
I go to LA Comic-Con. I go to both Long Beach Comic-Con and Comic Expo. I've been to some of the smaller ones too. I've been on like a couple panels. Oh, WonderCon. I've been to D23, which is the Disney convention. I feel like I've been to others. Mostly just California based. I've been invited to some outside of California, but usually it's like, yeah, but you have to get yourself here first and we'll just give you a free ticket. I'm like, I'd rather buy the ticket and you guys pay for me to come out there.
Yeah, it's like every year, as being a comic book dealer and have my own shop, they're like, oh, we're going to give you free tickets to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I'm like, that's awesome. I can't afford anything else on the way out there, such as, the hotel.
Well, if they offer them to you and you want to get rid of them.
Well, the problem is that they got to be in my name.
I'll just pretend I'm you.
Yeah.
Just put my name down too. You're like yourself, and then Josephine Mischief, and then
haven't you ever heard? I was like, haven't you ever heard of my my cosplay name? Yeah, no.
Yeah. My assistant is gonna be there in my stead.
There you It's we get like 2 per store, and it's got to be me and my employee, and my employee is my son. So that doesn't even they do not make it easy. San Diego Comic-Con is notorious. I had a friend of mine
I know.
who got tickets I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago, and he couldn't go. And he's like I can't go. He goes, you know, do you want to buy these tickets? I was like, you're done. Those are your tickets. He goes, what? I was
Well,
like,
I've changed my ticket over before. It's just a pain in the butt,
yeah.
but you can.
Yeah, he was. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I knew at one point they were all non-transferable, so I don't know if that's still the case. But yeah, it was. He's like, man, I
mean,
can't go.
I've borrowed friends' badges and gone in and been successful, but you know, you just have to be careful because that person can also lose their badge. So the person who gave it to me, he was like, just keep your head down, like don't really, because it's a boy's name on there. I was like, I can totally be this person.
Yeah. See, I get lucky because I usually, when I go to like the bigger conventions, like I've been to, we get free tickets to C2E2. And I can luckily they're just like, oh, whoever, me and my wife, fine. San Diego, completely different deal. It's got to be these people. That's it. Those are your 2 people that you're allowed. And when I first opened, I was allowed just me, myself, by myself. And I was like, I want to drive.
Why would I do that?
I want to have fun. And if I want to go have fun, I'm going to take somebody with me, probably my wife. But
there's more fun stuff to do outside the convention than there actually is in the convention. Like, have you ever been there?
I haven't been to San Diego since I was a kid. I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con.
Unless you are like really heart set on getting into panels and like trying to get swag, like, which is near impossible anyway. I mean, for the most part, you're totally fine just doing all the stuff that's in the gas lamp, because the Children's Museum has, you know, sci-fi takes over the Children's Museum and they've got their stuff going on, and every restaurant has something going on, and every club has something going on. So it's like there's plenty to do outside the convention center. There's less cosplayers than you would actually think. And those ones, the cosplayers are outside on the roof taking pictures, and then, or they're in panels.
Yeah, because like I said, we went to C2E2. That's, I don't know if C2E2 is probably the biggest I've ever been to. I was in Chicago Comic-Con years ago when it was still Chicago Comic-Con. And that was massive. But that was literally the year that like all the Image guys first started. So that was, you know, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld. So it was massive.
Yeah.
But when you go to like C2E2, like there's a ton of cosplay people, but they all tend to stay in one area. Like, yeah. And so they're just standing there taking pictures the entire time. And part of me wanted to go one time and dressed up, and then I'm like, but I want to go look at stuff. I don't want to just stand over there and get. Well,
you need to have a handler if you're dressed up in a large con, because we made the mistake. We were one of my friends and I were the Red Queen and the White Queen from Alice in Wonderland. We did our own spin on them, but we had these massive gowns, like huge. We got in the cab and the guy was like, can I take a picture of you? And it was like tulle up to the ceiling. I'm like, I don't know, can you even like see us? So he like took a picture. It was just all tulle, like in the back seat. You couldn't even like see us in there. And but we couldn't go 2 steps without getting stopped and asked for photos, and then we'd be there for 10 minutes because all the wait. And we didn't have a handler with us that day, and so it took forever to get anywhere. And I mean, it was fun. It was probably one of our like more successful cosplays. But I mean, everywhere we went, there's like, we ended up in some like news, like pictures of us getting on the train, trying to get out, like on the train. And we're like looking out the door, hoping nobody else is going to come in because it's so crowded. And they took a picture of us doing that and like put us on like, you know, OC Weekly or something like that. And I was like, we literally couldn't move. We couldn't go to the bathroom. We couldn't, I mean, every time we were eating, I was like, I hate that. Like with a passion. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, is when people take pictures of cosplayers while they're eating their lunch or whatever. They're just like, okay, I'm just gonna back here, just like, you really, that's the picture you want of me, like, you know, going ham on something because I haven't eaten all day.
I was just going to ask you if you had any horror stories, but there's some horror stories right there.
Yeah, I'm sure if I did like a reverse search of like my face, I'd see some really interesting photos. I hate that, and I have gone up to people and like done return the favor. Like I'll just start taking pictures of them, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Same thing you were doing to me." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Can we take a photo?" No, absolutely not.
Like I said, it's that it's not the person, it's the character. They don't they
Uh-huh.
don't they don't see you as a person. They see you as a character there for their amusement, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, and I hate that, and I'm guilty. I've gotten pictures, but it's like one of the ones where like if they're in a group and are already taking pictures,
Hmm.
I walk up,
Oh
snap,
yeah,
yeah, walk off.
that's
Um,
fine because they're already ready to take photos.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if I'm just like on the phone or whatever, like, give me a second. You want to take a nice photo, right? You want a photo where I actually look like I'm in the photo, like on purpose.
Yeah. I've only ever stopped one group and had them like I asked them if they would do a picture for me, and it was I had like some guys were there and they were in full like Star Wars gear, so you had like the Imperial Guards and stuff like that, and you had the guys dressed up like Vader and whatnot. But I had the guards and stormtroopers, and I was taking pictures as like people were walking out of the bathroom because you had these guards standing outside the bathroom. People were like,
Oh, that's funny.
"What?" That was the only time I ever like, hey man, can I get a picture real quick like this? And they're like, and then they took the picture and they thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh sweet. I don't want to be a weirdo that asks you to take a picture of the bathroom, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny. That actually is really funny.
Yeah. The with going to the big conventions, now do
Mhm.
you have like, you take your costume, you spend some time in like the big elaborate costume, and then go, okay, that time's done, I'm going to go get into a lighter costume so I can enjoy the convention? Or do you just kind of stay in one con or one costume all day?
Um, if I get a hotel close by, I will do that. Unfortunately, because with San Diego Comic Con, it is ridiculously hard to get a close hotel.
Mhm.
So for the most part, it's either you choose between lugging around all that stuff you're going to change into, and then you still have to have all your stuff. Even if you change into like a lighter costume, you still have to find somewhere to store all the leftovers. But usually I pick like one of the days as like a easier costume, something that I can get around in, or something that I can like change into. Like with my Harley hammer, I made it so that I could take the top off and put stuff in it. So I had like flat shoes in there, and and I could put the wig in there and stuff like that. So by the end of the day, I'm still Harley, but then I have like black hair and flats on instead of like her boots or whatever. And but I'll pick like the usually on like Sunday, I'll do what I call cosplay light, and then I'm able to like walk around if people still want to take pictures, or if they recognize me, like I'm still at least dressed up a little bit. I have shown up to an event in plain clothes, and I was razzed all day by people who recognize me, who are like, "Wait a minute, why are you naked?" And I'm like, I didn't want to dress up today.
You ever do that at the Ren Fair where you just show up as you, just like, nah, I'm not dressing up today, I'm good,
I
I'm
haven't
clean?
done I haven't done it at Ren Fair, but I did it at a pirate show, like a pirate invasion, the Long Beach Pirate Invasion, which is a huge pirate event out here. And yeah, my friends just ignored me. They're like, "No, we can't talk to you. No, no, we don't even know who you are anymore." I was like, "Come on, I have to like go to work in a few hours. I can't." And they're just like, "Nope, nope, we don't know who you are. Who are you? Who are you, person just talking to me?" So they
Uh,
shamed me into never doing that again.
Now, do you ever get the people that you work with that are like, do you dress up and go do those things like the
Yeah, yeah, the ones who find my Instagram are usually like, "So, what is all this? What is this thing that you're doing?" And they automatically, a lot of them assume that I'm into like, it's like some kind of kink thing, or I'm like a sex worker or whatever, and I'm like, "Ooh." I mean, for some people, I'm sure it's a kink, and I do have an OnlyFans, but it's not naked. So I don't care. I think whatever you want. And it's really hard to kind of explain to people because they're like, what do you do? You know, like, well, I wear costumes out in public. And they're like, but why? I'm like, because it makes me happy. And it makes other people happy because when I'm running around dressed as a pirate, there's always people like, oh, yeah, you know, like I got pulled into somebody's wedding once when I was at like Long Beach Invasion. I was walking by, I was looking for a bathroom and there was a hotel. I was like, oh, yay. Because I refuse to go into porta potties. I'd rather pee in front of everyone on the floor. And so I was like, oh, the hotel, I'm just gonna run over there. And there was like, they were having a wedding and they're like, oh, you have to come in and take pictures with the bride and groom. So I'm in some random wedding album. But it made their day, made my day, you know.
They're happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is when people find out, like for me, they're like, man, you dress up and do stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? You go to football games wearing football jerseys and dressed up like, it's like, where's the difference?
And
You're
I
not
don't
gonna take the
understand that.
field. You know, you're
Yeah.
not a player.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. When they're like, you know, all painted and like it's very like primal. I'm like, you have your dress up days and you have your like lucky monkey and lucky underwear and you have to like spin 3 times every time they shoot a field goal or whatever for your rituals. And I'm not shaming you. So don't shame me for how I blow off steam.
That's right. And it's funny because like you said that the costumes are the real you and the costume is what you wear every day to work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's bad. I unfortunately I always tell people, I was like, the character that you see is the character you get, but that's a lie because I have my work character, which I don't now because I work for myself, so I am on 24/7, 7 days a week. My wife hates it because she's like, you got to stop selling stuff to people. I'm like, what? You know what? They need magic cards. You don't know. You're getting comics or whatever. Literally, we're at a wedding and we were sitting there talking, and ended up one of the people that we're sitting at the table with, her husband had collected comic books when he was younger, and I'm like, really? Well, do you still collect?
She's like, no.
She's like, shut up. So sorry. Now with doing the costumes and everything, and you said you have kids now.
I have one. Yeah,
you have one. Okay. Do they ever just, I don't know how old they are, but they ever just look at you and go, Mom, come on?
Yeah, my son is 5. He doesn't like to dress up as anything other than a dinosaur. He refuses to wear any other costume. My Big Hat Pirate family made him a beautiful brocade pirate coat and a leather hat, and he will have nothing to do with it. He doesn't like pirates. I asked him if his father told him to say that to me because it's the worst thing he could have said to me. And he does very much. He's like, but I mean, he's also, I mean, my first cosplay when he was little, he was like maybe 3 months old, and I ran off to go do a photo shoot, like my first like postpartum photo shoot as a pirate version of Harley Quinn at Tom's Farms in like Corona area. And so he's seen me dress up a million times. It doesn't really faze him. Probably when he gets older, he's gonna be weirded out. It's funny though, because I have a picture of the redhead from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride over there, and he's like, Mama, why is there a picture of you on the wall? And I was like, who? And he goes, her. And I was like, the redhead? And he goes, yeah, that's you. And because I dress up as her too. And I was like, oh. I was like, thanks, buddy. Like, that's a great compliment.
That's cool.
And we had like a thing where we dressed up, and I didn't dress as her. And he's like, oh, you didn't wear the redhead. I'm like, no.
That's pretty cool though. With doing costumes, you dressing up. Have you know? I seen you did Elvira. Have you ever met Elvira?
I met her briefly when it was Kamikaze, and I asked her how she looked younger than me, and she said, I never drank, I didn't do drugs, I never smoked cigarettes, I don't really go out in the sun much. And I'm like, so you killed babies and bathed in their blood? That's what you're telling me, right? And what possibly might be happening in the next few months is a friend of mine is remaking her dagger,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs help delivering it. And so he asked me if I would be interested. I was like, yes, as a matter of fact, because it's funny because I started making those TikToks as her, and this one person was like, oh, the real Elvira's 10,000 times better. And I cannot wait. I'm going to beg and plead her if I can make a video replying to that comment going, oh, you mean her? And just have her like come into frame. Her? You're right. She does look a lot better than me. Thanks, Mom. And then like have her walk off screen or something.
I was
and
lucky.
Just break the internet.
Yo, I was lucky enough to meet Cassandra a few years back at Horror Hound, which is horror convention. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed she wasn't Elvira that day.
She was herself as a redhead.
Yeah, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, no, I was like, still me and my wife are sitting there because my wife really wanted to meet her. Like that was like the whole point of her day was to go meet Elvira. And we're standing in line, and I'm like kind of looking, and I'm like, and she's like, what's the matter? I was like, I wanted to meet Elvira. I
didn't want to meet Cassandra Peterson. I wanted to meet Elvira.
But she's gorgeous. I mean, she's
in her 70s.
Yeah, she's probably 65, 66 at the time when I met her. And you're just like, that's crazy. You shouldn't be allowed to be that good looking.
Exactly, right? Like the woman has not aged.
No.
At all.
Well, the other day somebody posted a picture and it said 2021, and then it had when she first started. And they were side by side, and there's not much difference between them. And there's like almost 40 years between point A and point B. And you're like, that's not fair. That is just
yeah, that was definitely a goal cosplay of mine. It's been a goal for a long time to portray her and try to do it well. So I was really stoked that I was able to pull it off, at least well enough, till I felt good about it.
Oh man. No, you said that with the Disney ride, the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Now, would you ever do anything like that? Like work for Disney doing like pirate-esque stuff?
I would love to. Disney is a really hard company though. Both my parents work there. That's actually where they met. I am a total Disney baby. And they have a hard time with any kind of like cleavage going on. So how they would make it so I looked less chesty would be hard. Because it doesn't matter what I wear. They're there. You can put me in a turtleneck and it's still like, oh, those are impressive. Like, did you ever see how they did Jessica Rabbit? The character. It was horrifying. Well,
a friend of mine, his daughter worked for Disney a few years back. She interned at Disney. I always get them backwards. Disney World, or whichever one's in Florida.
That's Disney World.
Disney World. She worked at Disney World, and her roommate, I think, was Tinkerbell. And you're only allowed, like, you can't be over, you got this narrow window of what you can weigh, and you can't be seen like eating cake, you can't be seen eating junk food, we can't talk to anybody. I'm like, that's gotta be miserable.
You can't talk about it outside of, you have to say, oh, she's a friend of mine. Like, oh, do you know Tinkerbell? She's a friend of mine. Like, you can't admit that you are those people. Like there's so many rules. But funny story, Disney put out a casting call for the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, I think, where they were looking for a naturally busty pirate woman who could corset down to a 28-inch waist. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And I had so many people like send me the casting call. They're like, you need to do it. You need to do it. Oh my gosh, it's you. Did you see this? And I was like, that's my chance. But they needed me to take like a leave of absence from work for like 4 months. So pretty much I would have had to quit, and I would have had to be away from my then husband. So I didn't go for it, and I still kick myself because now I'm divorced, and I probably would have just lived a totally different life. And yeah, I'm bummed. That was like literally the casting call that was made for me.
There's always the one that got away, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friends are always like, when people get to know me and they realize I'm not in the entertainment industry in real life, they're like, what? They're like, do you work in Hollywood? Do you do this? Do you do that? I'm like, nope, I have a totally mundane job. They're like, why? I was like, because there's no job stability in the entertainment world.
No.
None.
I like I said, I own my own business, and it wasn't up until relatively recently that I was like able to walk away from a regular job because I was so scared of, I'm like, that can't be permanent. This makes me a weekly paycheck. This is this, and that cannot be something that will last forever. And now I do that forever. So sorry. Now you said are talking about your regular job, and do you ever get your like coworkers are like, it's Halloween's coming up. Let's see.
My boss, so this year was the first year I actually debuted Elvira. So my boss, he comes up to me and he goes, so what are you gonna wear on Halloween? But I wasn't at work. Like I was in Vegas for an event. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be Elvira this year. And he's like, oh, good. And he goes, how are you going to wear that at work? I was like, well, I'm not going to be at work. He's like, oh, okay. Cause I don't know how you were going to dumb that down for work. I was like, I am not coming to work with the girls hoisted up high. Nope. For one thing, all I'd have to do is lean over one of the cases at work and I would have a total malfunction. And you guys don't pay me enough to get to see that. It's not dinner and a show.
No. That's funny. It's like I said, it's you always get the people that you work with like, well, I want to see it. You got the
go ahead and wear that. You can go ahead and wear that in. So they were all kind of, some people thought it was funny and other people were disappointed. Last year for Halloween, I came as, I called it the anti-Flo from Progressive. So I was her opposite. So I wear like a red bandana and I was wearing all black and I made an apron that said aggressive. And then I had like a button that said Flo and it was like X'd out. And I had the name My Price Tool. And like so many people loved it, but a bunch of my coworkers was like, really, like you're wearing a black t-shirt and like black pants and red combat boots, like I'm like, but I need the apron. And this customer was like, what are you supposed to be? I'm the anti-Flo. I work for Aggressive Insurance. And he looks at me up and down, he goes, I hate that. I was like, have a good day.
Now, I don't know where you work or anything like that. Now, do you have like people that come to your work because they find you on like Facebook or Instagram?
I'm very careful about like, I work for Trader Joe's, but I'm very careful about the location of it. But I did have somebody come in once and he goes, oh, look, it's Trader Josephine. And I was like, oh, is he making a play on Joe's and turning it into a girl's name? Or is he telling me he knows who I am? And then he's like, he's like, okay, see you later, Trader Josephine. And I was like, oh, yeah, he totally knows. And then I had a couple customers come in who were like, oh my gosh, I saw that video of you on TikTok. And I was like, please don't judge me for my TikToks. They make money, like, and they're like, no, you totally didn't deserve to be treated like that and whatever. And I'm like, I don't, what? And they were talking about, I got cornered at work by a group of anti-maskers, and they like flanked me on the outside the door and like filmed it as they were like berating me and like calling me a Nazi and stuff like that. And so that video was on TikTok. So they're like, oh, but you have a TikTok? And I was like, no,
No.
no, thank you though. Have a nice day. Yeah. Like, I try to keep my life separate.
Yeah. It's I don't want to compare, but I've ran into a little bit of that recently.
Oh, hold on.
Lost you.
Somebody was trying to call me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I ran into a little bit of that recently. People. Luckily I can just edit all this out, so this won't be in. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. I ran into that now because I never thought anybody would really watch. I just started doing this as a hobby, kind of something to have fun. And I had people like this guy just staring at me, and I'm like, can I help you? And usually people know me from my store. And he's like, are you on the internet? I went, yes.
Isn't everyone?
I'm like, yeah, pretty much everybody's on the internet in some way, shape, or form. He goes, man, I thought I saw you on a show. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I mean, could be. I'm like, I don't want to tell you where I'm at, because I don't want, you're weird. Go away. I was like, and then I've had people, because I was in a couple movies, and I did a Christmas movie, and I was just a background character, and I had somebody recognize me from that, and I'm like, they're like, are you in a movie? I'm like, yeah. They're like, are you on a Christmas movie? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm literally just a guy in the background in an office scene, and I'm like, but so, I was like, did I stand out that much? I mean, I don't know. So I like, your level is got to be people. I couldn't imagine being that level of people noticing you, and with Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. And it's got to be, I mean, I outside of work, do you ever have people like notice you or catch you, like, or
it happens sometimes. It was funny. I was in Reno for Thanksgiving because my brother and sister live out there. So I flew in and I went into my hotel, and I was with my dad, and I go downstairs into the lobby, and this girl goes, oh my God. And I was like, and I just got off the plane, I looked like hell. And I was like, and she goes, I follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and what are you doing here? You aren't from here. I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, can we like take a picture together? I'm like, I guess so. And my dad's just like, everywhere we go. And it's because it's not always like people from like, from Facebook or whatever. Like, I run into friends, I run into people from high school, or like people I haven't seen in forever. And it's like everywhere we go, I tend to run into somebody I know. But it's always funny when it's fans, because I don't know what to do. Like, I get really awkward. I'm just like, aren't you just like, I don't know what to do right now with my hands. And so I always get really awkward. But I like my friend who's the blacksmith, like, he gets recognized everywhere we go. And so every time I'm with him, it's just like, hey, can you get out of the picture? I want to take a picture with him. Or can you take the picture? And I'm just like, not used to this. They're like, hey, you out of the photo. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take the photo, it's fine. And like, he'll be like, do you know who she is? They're like, no.
Oh, who's your blacksmith?
Tony Swatton.
Tony.
He did Man at Arms. He does like pretty much all of the blacksmithing for Hollywood.
Nice.
Yeah, so his shop is incredible. I feel very lucky to call him one of my best friends. And everybody just assumes I'm in it for I don't know what, and that he's in it to try to get in my pants. And luckily our relationship is not like that at all. We are just super duper good friends, and I can trust him with just about anything. And he just knows literally everyone. I could tell him he's like my Make-A-Wish, because I was like, oh my gosh, I love Olivia, who does like the Betty Page artwork. And he goes, oh, well, we can go out to Malibu and we can go out to sushi and take her out to lunch. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, like we're super good friends. I'll call her right now. I'm like, oh my God, no, because I'm not dressed for that. Like I have to mentally prepare for that. I need to make like a speech so that I don't sound stupid. And I can't just go to lunch with Olivia.
Yeah, that's I'd probably just like
I'm just run in and go, draw me like one of your French girls.
Olivia's one of the ones that literally I fell in love with her art like in high school, you know, and I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, I'd just be like, thank you.
You're just walking up going, yeah, so I had a bunch of her artwork all growing up, to the point where my mother was definitely questioning my sexuality. She's like, you have pinup girls like all over your walls. I'm like, yeah. She's like, so are you like, you know? And I was like, no, I don't want to get with them. I want to be them.
Yes. It's
life goal is to be a pinup model someday.
See, we go the other way. If you were like, you know, if it was a sports person on your wall, then that's no problem. But you had pinup models on your wall, that's who you wanted to be. That there are people like,
yeah, if I had like, you know, celebrities on my wall of like, you know, Jennifer Lopez or Britney Spears, what if nobody would have ever like said anything? They're like, oh, pop stars. But I'm like, I'm obsessed with Betty Page. And my mom's just like, I was like, I'm gonna be that when I grow up, which is funny because that's one of the photo shoots I really haven't done. I haven't done like true pinup.
You ever want to do a Betty Page-esque one?
Yes. 100,000,000% yes.
Betty Page is yet again, I fell in love with her in like junior high. I think oh man, I can't remember where I saw like something with Betty Page in it, like and it was just like I always thought that was the perfect woman for the longest time.
Right.
And luckily I found my wife, and my wife was like, yeah, that's an acceptable woman. That's fine. One of my really good friends became a pen pal with her later on in her life, and he just like wrote her one day and got a reply back. So they wrote back and forth for years. So he has like all these like legit letters written from Betty Page, and I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad she totally like lost it as she got older, but like you need to read her story of what she like was doing as she got older, because it was gnarly.
Well, I know that Dave Stevens, because I met Dave at a con years ago, and he was talking about it in a panel, and he goes, yeah, he used to take her to go get her like social security check and stuff like that. And it was one day he took her into like a Hot Topic, and that's when she realized she was everywhere. And I was like, he was just telling all these stories about taking, I mean, like literally we're in a Dave Stevens, you know, the guy that created Rocketeer, and he did all this artwork over the years, but I don't think anybody asked the first question about the Rocketeer or any of his artwork. I think all the entire questions were all about Betty Page and his time with Betty Page there at the end. And I was like, I'm not lying. If I would have gotten up in line, I would have asked the same thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I have like a little metal wallet and it has Betty Page on the front of it. I've just always been a fan of her work, and it's sad that she deteriorated like that, and like she got like violent and stuff. But you know, her artwork will still be there, and it's always going to be a cult following. It's always funny when people are like, "Oh, you know, who do you like?" And I was like, "Oh, I love Betty Page," and they're all, "Who?" You don't even know.
I always thought she was the anti Marilyn Monroe. She was,
Yes.
yes, yeah. Marilyn Monroe was just, I want to say, super vanilla, middle of the road, blonde bombshell of that time. She was the one that everybody had to like. And then you had Betty Page over here at the same time and doing completely, left of center stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, stuff that was entirely taboo for the time too.
yeah,
Any kind of fetish modeling was like so not kosher.
well, yeah, because they got Bunny Yeager and all them. They got in like a lot of trouble back then
Mm-hmm.
for just. I mean, and you look at them now, and it's like that's
Tame.
nothing. That's tame. I can go on regular people's Facebook pages and see worse now. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well, we've become desensitized as an entirety, because if you look at like even when Psycho, right? So
mhm.
like it was the first one to even have like a there's a woman in a shower even though you can't see anything, and the first movie to show a toilet.
Really, yes.
Like, oh my god, a toilet, you know. And now we're like, you know, the first scene of something, someone's getting ripped limb from limb, and someone's, screwing the eye socket of that human, and you're like, eh, like gratuitous gore, and it's just we're so like, oh, okay. Like, whereas, and people, even with The Exorcist, people were walking out of that theater and throwing up because it was obscene.
Oh,
It
people
was
thought that they
too
were.
much.
Oh, I'm the reason I am today because my mom went and seen The Exorcist when she was pregnant with me. That's the story that I heard when I was a little kid from family members on. I'm not saying who the family members were, but and I'm like, okay, I'm the bad one. But as I got older, I'm the one who's, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. I've been with the same woman for almost 30 years. I have 4 great kids. I don't get into trouble anymore. Yeah, I went and did that stuff when I was younger, but but The Exorcist is the reason I am the way I am today. So I just dated myself and totally told everybody how old I am, which I got no problem with. I'm 47. I'm old. Uh, but now, okay, we got Betty Page. Is there any other like pinup models or stuff that you look up to, even to, like modern ones, like today's
People I look up to today.
or past? Anybody,
Um, I mean, there's definitely like some cosplayers that I have looked up to, but modern pinup models, or even no, not necessarily. I mean, I have a wide variety of people that I enjoy, but I don't know that I necessarily like look up to them or try to idolize them. I try to think of I try now as an adult to really think of them as like just people.
Mhm.
Like when I hang out with people who are celebrities or whatever, I try really hard to kind of like, okay, like it's just a person, and they usually appreciate that I just treat them as a human. Like
Mhm.
we went out to dinner after Comic-Con with some of the cast from Game of Thrones after they were on Conan,
Mhm.
and we ended up hanging out with them like all night, closed down a bar, and then the next day they came out to hang out with me again. We went to a after party, and then we went to another bar and closed it down, and they're like, you're just like so chill, and I'm like, on the inside I'm like, I'm like, they're just people, they're just people, they're just people. And so I try to treat them as just people. So I try really hard not to idolize too much, more as like, oh yeah, like you're super cool and I would totally hang out with you, but not like I have you on this pedestal other than like Olivia and Elvira, because I'm definitely gonna make a total fool of myself, and I know that already.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, I've met doing the convention circuit around here. I've met a lot of the like several people from the TV show Buffy and Angel, not the big main actors, but like some of the mid-range people, and we've had drinks and partied with them and stuff like that. And it's funny seeing just, you know, because you're okay, you got to differentiate the TV person from the person that you meet. And some of them are the super nicest people you will ever meet. They're so down to earth, no issues. But you always have that one who's just kind of a dick. And you just like, who invited you?
Yeah, they're like,
Oh
do
yeah,
you
you're
know who I
famous.
am?
Yeah. Uh,
You're like, no, who are you again? I forget. Remind me.
uh, I have a really odd horror story about that. Who do you know who I am thing, and that was just wrong place, wrong time. I didn't know who they were. Legitimately had no clue who they were. Their security guard did not like the fact that I did not know who they were, and I just happened to be wheeling through a two-wheel cart full of beer into the back room. And I don't care if I tell it. I had a friend of mine who worked at a strip club, and I used to like just pick him up and take him from work because I was his ride. Well, like a lot of the people there got to know me, and it wasn't like I was, you know, I wasn't there all the time or not. Like I was just literally picking him up. But the owner, like not the owner, the manager would ask me, he goes, "Hey, Ann," he goes, "Can you help me out get the beer out of the back of my car?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem." So I'm bringing stuff in. Jenna Jameson was there, the porn star. She was practicing at this club so that she could go to the other club that they owned later on that day. So she could just roll in, you know, fully rehearsed or whatever. And I didn't know she was there, had no clue, no nothing. I'm walking down the hall with this cart. Door opens up. This woman kind of plows into me from the side. And I'm like thinking it's just one of the girls that worked there, which I didn't know was there. And I'm like, "Excuse you," like that. And this guy slams me up against the wall. And you know, I'm 5'9". This dude's probably like 6'4", weighs like 350. And I'm slammed up against the wall. And she goes, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "I don't know who the hell you are." And, and that made her mad, which made that guy mad. And then Jason, the guy that managers, come back and goes, "What the hell's going on here?" And I was like, "I don't know what the hell's going on." And then he said, "That's Jenna Jameson." I'm like, "Okay, I don't." And it was just this whole like, I don't know who you are, just made her a lot madder. And the security guy, and all I happen to be doing is doing somebody a favor, wheeling beer to the back room of a strip club.
I plowed over Gwen Stefani on accident at the Huntington Gardens. I turned the corner and I just like ran her over, and she's a tiny woman. She had like no makeup on. She was there with her kids, and I didn't really see her, so I was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," you know. And I'm trying to walk away, and then this like brick, you know, S house of a man gets in front of me, and he's just like, "Rrr." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I ran into your girlfriend," you know, like run away. And then I kind of caught up to my best friend, and I stopped for a minute, and I go, "Oh," and she goes, "What?" I was like, "I ran over Gwen Stefani." She's like, "You what?" And we're like in the library, we're all looking around the corner. I was like, "Oh my god, I totally ran over Gwen Stefani." No wonder that man was mad at me. That's her bodyguard. And he wasn't doing his job because I was able to plow right into her.
Yes, he should have been there, not have plowed into him. No. Oh crap, that's funny. I don't have any real like horror stories about cons or anything like that. But you're right. Like I met Maisie Williams years ago at a con, and I did not realize how tiny she was until
A lot of
literally
celebrities are really tiny.
yeah. I'm like, man, because I'm there picking up stuff at a con, and she's in the back, and I'm getting like unloading and loading into a truck, and she's just back there like chilling out and getting away from people. And I felt weird because I'm like, am I where I'm supposed to be? But they told me to unload or load up over here. And I'm like, you know what? Hell with it. I'm going to take a second and talk to her. Security runs me off. They run me off. And I had to ask her, I was like, don't, this not weird way. I was like, how old are you? I was like, because you look like you're 12. And I think at the time she was like 17 or 18. I'm like, either A, you're going to be super lucky for the rest of your life because you're going to look massively young, or you're going to be unfortunately pigeonholed because you look unfortunately.
Mhm.
And she's like, I know. I was like, I'm sorry. But she was all cool about it. I'm like, I apologize. I was like, I didn't think I'd run around a corner and there you would be. So I didn't expect Arya Stark to be standing in the back of a comic book
Right.
convention at the loading dock. So um all right. Well, I don't want to keep you anymore. I do thank you very much for coming on here. Um, if if there's anything you want to plug, like if you have anything coming up, like if you're any like appearances or anything that you want to get out there.
I don't have anything coming up right now. Hopefully in the new year, when everything kind of evens out, I'll be able to actually make a schedule. Um, I mean, I'm always posting new stuff on my TikTok, which is Josie Mischief, and on my Facebook as well, which is just Josephine Mischief. So I'm trying to keep content fresh there just because there's nothing going on at the moment. So until events start happening again, I know that there's been a few, like Anime Pasadena was this weekend, but I'm actually been home. I've been nursing an injury. So it's not the best time for me to go out and try to take photos when I'm like, can you turn your head this way? No, actually, I can't right now. So hopefully with the beginning of the year happening, I'll actually be able to start attending more events.
Well, like I said, I do appreciate it. I'd love to have you back again sometime. Like if you want to just tell us like down the road, you want to go, hey, get me on here. I'm going to tell that I'm going to be here, here, and here. Just let me
Sure.
know, and I'll post it up here. But I do thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.
And you will probably be on in Monday, not this Monday, not next Monday, the Monday after that. Well, because I've got like several in the can that you'll be.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you a heads up when
Yeah,
your
just
show
send me a
pops up.
message.
Yeah. So, all right, but thank you very much. I appreciate it, and you have a good night. And I hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, you too. We'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. We'd like to thank Josephine Mischief for coming on to the show tonight. If you can check Josephine out on her Facebook, her Instagram, and her TikTok. And we will bring you more information as we get it on where she'll be in the upcoming year, 2022. And as always, the Group Therapy Podcast is brought to you by RU Game, the best comic book collectible shop in all of Pickle, Ohio, located at 124 North Sunset Drive, Pickle, Ohio, 45356. And you can also watch me on my other show, Saturday Morning Serials, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on YouTube's, or you can just watch it whenever you want to watch it. Yet again, I will have more cartoons every Saturday until I run out of cartoons. And we've got more guests on the line. I will have more when I can tell you when I have more. So you guys have a good night, and I will see you next time on Group Therapy TV. Later.